Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is April Jones, and I'm the founder of the Birth to Life Early Care Institute and content creator. So, I wanted to come on here to discuss something that I feel as though will be very helpful for all professionals in the ECE field. So, whether you're a director, assistant director, curriculum person, teacher, assistant teacher, cook, receptionist, no matter who you are, college student, even that is, working in the ECE field for the very first time, I want to give you some tips about how to free yourself from validation from others, especially in the ECE field. And I know some of you are already going to be like, okay, how can you do that? Well, I always like to introduce myself. So I've been in the field close to 18 years combined. So I've been working with children and families and teachers and parents, and the list goes on and on for quite some time. And this is something that I kind of would categorize in, when we look at it, like maybe mental health, even, or self care, even when it comes to how we communicate and how we interact with people. So, I've been a teacher for a very, very long time, and I am an acting administrator as well. But even as administrators, you deal with validation and dealing with expectations and stuff like that. So, there's some things that I definitely want to cover in this video. So sometimes you have to really look at yourself as that professional that is caring for children and want to provide the very best care for people. So validation is not necessarily not upholding to standards and things that protocols and systems that happen in our childcare field, because that's very important. It's very important that we have standards that we meet. It's very important that we act as professionals, even if we're in this journey of learning about things. But I will say mistakes will be made. And sometimes mistakes do come with consequences. But even if you do decide to make a mistake, which you will, because it's human nature, you're not defined by your mistake. And you're not defined by even all of your experiences that you have had, whether good or bad. Sometimes, we have all of these expectations, right? We have the licensing expectations. We have expectations from parents. We have expectations from directors. We have expectations from the board of directors. We have expectation from all these organizations and outside places that affects our everyday life in our field, right? But at the same time, we're not validated by people's opinions necessarily. We're not validated by people's expectations always. And some of you guys are like, how is that possible? As an administrator and as a teacher, like former teacher, I'll be the first one to tell you that, that's something that I definitely struggle with, because I've been in environments where I've had two bosses, and I've been in environments where I've had seven bosses, and everybody is giving their different critiques. Everybody is giving their opinions. Everybody is giving their expectations. And it's not necessarily a bad thing per se, because that's just human nature. People are going to be different no matter where you go and no matter what you are, because we're different human beings. We were created for different purposes and we have different personalities. But at the same time, if you are following your protocol and if you're following your standards and you're doing the very best that you can do, hey, you do have to let the validation go of trying to uh, please everybody, because guess what? You're not going to please everybody. You are not going to please everybody. For example, if I make this delicious, because I'm a Southern girl at heart, okay? I'm a Southern girl at heart. I was born in the South. So I'm all things Southern culture, all things Southern food. So if I made like this, the best, I feel as though the best was sweet potato pie for the potluck, and I brought it to the school, You might have some people say, "Oh, this is delicious. This is like the best sweet potato pie I've ever had." And then you might have some people say, "Oh, you might have needed one more egg in that." Or you might have some people say, "Oh, it would have been so much better with a little bit of cinnamon," but it's still okay, if this is what you like, but I don't really like it. That's just human nature. That's one little example, but that's human nature. And I cannot get caught up in the validation of, "Oh my goodness, they didn't like my pie. And I spent all night working on these pies and this, that, and the other. Oh my goodness." And I have to just tell myself, okay, if some people like it, great. And so if it wasn't some people's favorite, then it's okay. You have to let that validation go, because I'm telling you, trying to trying to please everybody and have all of these expectations of people wanting to like you, wanting to please everybody, is not going to happen. And you will create a personal prison in your mind trying to please everyone. It was very interesting one time, because one time I had a parent that was very concerned about, their child in the classroom. And it was very interesting. Sometimes I'm very, very curious about human behavior and interactions, and sometimes I just love interacting with people, because one thing I notice is how the brain works, how people's minds work, and that still really fascinates me, the thinking of people and the thoughts and their reasoning sometimes. And so he was talking, and he was just going on and on about, yes, I believe that my daughter should have this much attention. And yes, I believe that she should have this and she should have that, and da 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 da, going on and on. And, the teacher seems stressed and blah, 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 blah. So we're talking and everything like that. And I had to tell him that, part of your expectation of this school and this classroom is not an appropriate expectation. And he just kind of like, "What? Like, it's not appropriate for me?" And I said, "Yes, because you decided to put your child in a setting that is group care. So what you want and what you want us to do is not necessarily something that is agreed upon in our school, because we are group care. So even when it comes to a ratio, we're really good about ratios either. Too, I will say we're really, really good about ratios. The ratios are even better than NACE. And I said, our ratios are better than NACE even, but what you're requiring will require a teacher and a child one-on-one. It will be one-on-one, a one-on-one partnership. And we do not offer that, because we are a school and we offer group care. And I had to explain that to him. I said, but however, what the teacher can do and what we can do is, and I went on through the steps. So sometimes, people, the validation might be inappropriate. It's an inappropriate expectation. And guess what? This will require you as a professional to really know your stuff, to really know the standards, to really know what you are required. Because people they might throw all that all the time at you. I've had teachers will say, well, actually, the administrator's supposed to do this. And I will have to say, well, actually, that is an opinion, and that is not what is required. Well, how so? How is that not required? How are you going to tell me? Well, number one, I have a list of duties and goals, because your job responsibilities is like a contract. It is like a contract. And I might tell them, like, you know, that's not part of my contract. That's not part of my responsibilities. But however, what we can do is we can talk about it. We could possibly come to a solution, and we can go from there, because I want everybody, trust me, being that I have been a teacher for so many years, I understand the journey of a teacher. I understand it. I understand it. And, I specialize in infants through older preschoolers. And, after schoolers, I've taught every age group, so you're not listening to an administrator that has never been in a classroom and has never been there, done that. I've been there, done that, got the hat and a t-shirt and got a bag of chips to go along with that. Been there and done that. So, I can really, really feel when a teacher is frustrated and really try to really, really hear them out and try to really be a support system for them while still empowering them, as well. But I could not get caught up in a person telling me you should do, and we expect you to do. Sometimes you have to separate those emotions and compartmentalize it. And sometimes I say, okay, what does this person need? Even if I'm not able to meet that need, how can I be an assistance, or how can I empower them? But at the same time, that teacher doing this to me and rattling all these expectations and stuff, I'm still not validated by that. Like, I don't carry that, like, oh, this, that, and the other. No, I have to release that. I have to let them go, let that go. And you know what? It could be totally different the next day, or totally different the next week. And two, anytime you get really caught up in that, trying to please people and trying to see if they will accept you and set your expectations, because we already talked about like standards and things like that, and how to really deal with that. So that's a little bit separate as well, because it doesn't negate you still being a professional. But however, you have to come to a point where you release that. You have to come to a point where you just tell yourself, okay, I have a difficult parent. This parent might go to Facebook and get on the I'm telling you, I know my field ended out. So they might do that, but you still, and it might hurt your feelings, because nobody wants to be talked about and slandered, especially a person that is putting their best foot forward and trying to do the very best they can. Because I'm telling you, like, we all know, like, taking care of a group of children is not easy in the least bit. It's not easy if you do it right. If you do it right, and if you want to be the best, it's not the easiest in the least bit. But however, you still have to come to a point like, you know what? If the parents decide to do that, that's them. But I'm still going to honor myself as a professional. I'm still going to honor who I am and teach these children, be a professional, smile, even though it might be a little hard. They're like, oh, come on, honey, you talking about me, okay? But it still does not validate who you are. Yes, it might be helpful, but hurtful. I'm sorry, but it still do not validate who you are. So even if you have to go back into your past and release some of those expectations about what's happening at a past school, I've had to do that too, because I had a point in my career where I had a administrator that really did not treat me nicely and did not treat me well. But I just came to that conclusion. That's who they are. That's just who they are. But I did carry that a little bit, and I had to release that. And I made a decision too. I just made a decision that that is not the healthiest environment for me as a professional. Yes, I did grow, and yes, I did learn things, but that wasn't the healthiest environment for me. But what I decided to do is I started to move forward, leave the past behind, and I really, really wanted a place that was professional. I really, really wanted a place to exemplify the standards that we read about and exemplify, like all the experiences and all the things that you read in your book sometimes about how leaders should be. And I had an opportunity to experience the better side of childcare. And yes, these leaders make mistakes. They're human. They're human. You're going to make mistakes, everything is not going to go perfect. It's not. But at the same time, I had to release that trying to I wonder if this director is going to treat me because they didn't really validate me. I did my best, but they never said a good job, and I had humiliating moments and things like that. So you're going to have to come to that place where you're just like, this is who I am. This is what I'm called to. This is what I'm going to do, no matter what. No matter what, it's going to be okay. No matter what. So hopefully, some of these things that I've mentioned in this video has resonated with you. Another great thing too is having great self-talk, great positive self-talk, affirmations, quiet time alone. I don't care even if it's just 5 minutes. There have been days where I've been so just oh my goodness. I can't even catch my breath. And on my lunch break, I would go into an area and just sit there quietly. Sometimes I would have the need to just go and, get on my phone and wear my headphones. But sometimes, I would just go into an area and just let nature, just me and nature just sit there because my mind would be going so much. And I would tell you, when I was a person that was in the classroom, it's like I poured out so much of myself, pour out so much from beginning to end until I left. And I had to really come to a point where I have to give myself more self-care, because if you don't, it will catch up with you. And maybe I'll have like another video about that, like how your body will give you signals. And yes, it can be hard sometimes. But even if I was in a classroom and the children were just like, type of thing, I would have like these brain breaks, or I would call it like, we're gonna do a relaxation session or something. So I would turn off the lights and I would just play some soothing music, and I would tell them just to lay on their backs and just breathe in and out, just breathe in and out, and I'll just play some music just to settle it down a little bit. Or whatever, because they were just like, and then we would regroup and everything would be fine, because guess what? Children needed to. And of course, I went down a lot of rabbit holes because that's just what Miss April does. But I believe that everything that I tell you is a teachable lesson and something that you can reflect on every single time. So yes, I hope that this video was helpful for you all. Share it with people, because it might really help them, especially sometimes if you're in a childcare setting where you don't necessarily know who to trust. If you're a leader, leaders, it can be very difficult too, because sometimes you don't know who to trust, and you don't know. I mean, you have so much on your plate, you have so much on your mind. This is for administrators and teachers and the receptionists, the cook in the kitchen. I mean, the school where I work is big. It's a big school. It's like I think it's the biggest school that I've ever worked at. And so, the bigger the school, the bigger the magnitude of it, the bigger you don't have small challenges. You have big challenges most of the time that you have to deal with. But even for you, no matter what you are, the curriculum person that's trying to motivate teachers, and you getting all this pushback and like, oh, it's not that serious and this, that, and the other. Listen, do your best, and you're not validated by that. You might have to go back and look at your system, look at your approach and change it, but you're still not validated by that. You're not. If this is what you do and this is your heart, you're not validated by that. So I have a link in the bio, because I have a podcast, I have a Facebook page, Twitter, all of that good stuff. And I'm very thankful for you guys that are my subscribers and my supporters as well. As I go into the new year, I have some great things that I have planned. I started my business in the midst of a pandemic. In the midst of COVID, I started my business, and I did not have all the answers, and I didn't know where I was going to start even. Or I was like, I was going to do this, I was going to do that, but I slowed it down. I take it one day at a time, and I'm excited for this journey because it is a journey. It's definitely a journey. But guess what? If I can work for other people and pour into them over the years in companies that were not mine, I can do it for myself. I can do it for myself. So I had to let go of that validation too for myself of, oh, did somebody like my video? Or did somebody, I had to let go of that validation too. Yes, I have to look at how it can build and develop and become better. But in a sense, I'm not validated by every single like and every single post. I am not, because I am April Jones, the founder of the Birth to Life Early Care Institute, and I love what I do no matter what. So hopefully this has helped someone. And like I said, share it. And I look forward to doing much more and you guys really tuning in.